My husband had been dead for 7 days when another woman walked into court and claimed our house belonged to her. I stood beside Rachel Kim with my military uniform hidden beneath a black morning coat. Across the room, Celeste Ward placed a thick stack of papers on the table. She wore black, not the soft, exhausted black of grief. The sharp, deliberate black of someone arriving for a transaction. "This house belongs to me," she said. Her attorney presented a deed carrying Ethan's name, a will amendment, a promissory agreement, printed emails, and a notarized signature that looked enough like my husband's to make my stomach tighten. Celeste said she and Ethan had been together for 3 years. She claimed he had promised to leave me after my final military assignment. She said the house was meant to become theirs. Rachel leaned toward me. "Do not sign away anything." I looked at the acknowledgement page the clerk had placed in front of me. It did not transfer ownership. It only confirmed that I had received copies of every document Celeste was relying on. I signed it. Celeste smiled. She thought my silence meant I believed her. The judge opened the deed and compared it with the official notarization record Rachel had requested. He studied the date, then the list of verified participants. His expression changed. "Miss Ward," he said, "you testified that you personally witnessed Mr. Morgan sign this transfer." "Yes." "And you claim you are the intended heir?" "I am." The judge turned the official journal toward her. "If you are the heir, why is your name nowhere in this record?" Celeste's smile faded. The judge continued. "More importantly, the official file does not show Mr. Morgan appearing in the signing session either." For the first time since entering the courtroom, Celeste looked uncertain. The papers bearing Ethan's name were still spread before her, but the official record did not contain either of them. Ethan died after complications from heart surgery. I was still wearing my uniform when the hospital handed me his belongings inside a clear plastic bag. His wallet, his wedding ring, his keys, and an old phone I had never seen before. There was also a small brass key with no label. I was too numb to ask what it opened. 4 days later, a woman appeared outside my front gate carrying white flowers and a leather document case. She introduced herself as Celeste Ward. Then she told me she had loved my husband for 3 years. I did not believe her at first. Then she began naming details. The hospital where Ethan had undergone surgery, the coffee shop near his office, the layout of his private conference room, even the nickname his college friends had used. Each answer sounded like a small door closing inside me. Celeste said Ethan had planned to leave me. She claimed my deployments had destroyed our marriage. Then she opened the document case and removed a copy of a property deed. "He left me the house," she said. The signature at the bottom looked like Ethan's. Not perfect, but close enough to make me stare. Celeste extended her hand. "I need the keys." I stepped back. "You need to leave." She looked past me at the house as though she were already deciding what furniture to remove. "You will hear from my attorney." The camera above the gate recorded every word. Before leaving, Celeste placed the deed against the intercom box. I retrieved it only after her car disappeared. That evening, Rachel examined the document. The deed claimed Ethan had signed it through a remote online notarization session. The date was printed clearly beneath the certificate. I read it twice. Ethan had supposedly transferred our home while recovering in the cardiac intensive care unit. On that day, he had been under sedation. The nursing record said he could not stand without assistance. The hospital visitor log showed no entry for Celeste. Rachel turned the final page toward me. "Either your husband secretly arranged this from a hospital bed," she said, "or someone created this document while he was unable to defend himself." I looked at the unfamiliar phone and the brass key lying beside it. For the first time, I did not know which possibility frightened me more. The old phone stayed on Rachel's desk before either of us touched it. I was afraid of what it might prove. Rachel connected it to an offline computer and exported the messages instead of opening them one by one. She said screenshots could lie by omission. Full records were harder to manipulate. The first conversation made my chest tighten. "Do not tell Claire yet. Meet me at the usual place. I need more time. Once this is over, everything changes." There were photographs too. Ethan and Celeste sat across from each other in the same corner of a coffee shop near his office. In one image, she leaned close while he spoke. I remembered every deployment when Ethan had said he was working late. Every evening when his answers had sounded distracted. Every time I had accepted distance as the price of military life. Celeste had known his surgery date, his private office, and the nickname his college friends used. The messages seemed to explain how. Rachel did not let me stop at the visible words. She opened the metadata. Several conversations had missing sections between the messages Celeste had printed for court. The complete version of the first exchange read, "Do not tell Claire yet. I need the forensic report complete first." Another message mentioned rent payments missing from company accounts. The usual place was where Ethan met vendors when he did not want employees overhearing financial disputes. Celeste knew his medical schedule because she had managed the company's insurance paperwork. Even the nickname appeared in an old staff email. Then Rachel restored the sentence that had hurt me most. "Once this is over, everything changes." The deleted line beneath it read, "Your access to every company account ends the moment the audit is complete." The affair I thought I was uncovering began to collapse. In its place was something colder. Rachel opened a folder Ethan had labeled with Celeste's name. Inside were false repair invoices, duplicate payments, and transfers to a company I had never heard of. More than $300,000 was missing. Rachel began with the county property records. The official chain of title showed that Ethan and I had transferred the house into a living trust 8 months before his surgery. I was listed as the beneficiary and successor trustee. Celeste's deed carried a later date, but it had never been accepted into the official ownership record. The document claimed Ethan had signed through a remote online notarization session while recovering in the hospital. At first, the certificate looked complete. It named a commissioned notary. It included an electronic seal. It stated that Ethan had appeared by live video and confirmed his identity. Rachel contacted the notary and requested preservation of the official journal, video, identification records, and connection logs. The notary remembered the session because it had lasted less than 4 minutes. The account used Ethan's name, but the person on camera kept most of his face outside the frame. The identity check had been completed using an old scan of Ethan's driver's license. The login came from an unfamiliar internet address. Celeste was not listed as a participant, witness, or attorney. Neither was anyone from the hospital. Then Rachel compared the signing time with Ethan's medical chart. At that exact hour, he had been sedated in the cardiac intensive care unit. 2 nurses had documented that he could not stand without assistance. The medication log showed he was not capable of conducting a property transfer. Hospital security records created another problem for Celeste. No visitor badge had been issued in her name. The hallway camera did not show her entering Ethan's unit. And the hospital network had never connected to the notarization platform. The deed was not a secret promise that had failed on a technicality. Someone had used Ethan's identity while he was unable to speak for himself. Rachel traced the internet address used during the signing. It did not lead to Celeste's home. It led to the office of a small maintenance company that had received several of the suspicious payments in Ethan's audit folder. The alleged affair and the stolen money were no longer separate mysteries. They were connected by the same address. The small brass key opened a private box at Ethan's bank. Rachel came with me. Inside was a sealed folder, a flash drive, and a letter carrying my name. The folder contained a forensic accounting report. It showed how Celeste had moved money through false repair invoices and duplicate vendor payments. The maintenance company linked to the forged deed was not a legitimate contractor. It was a shell business, controlled by Celeste's cousin. The report traced more than $300,000 from Ethan's company into accounts connected to them. There was also a copy of our living trust, a fraud warning Ethan had sent to the title company, and a written request ordering them to reject any property transfer that could not be verified directly with him or Rachel. Then I opened his letter. Ethan wrote that he had discovered the missing money months earlier. He had not told me because I was preparing for a major military assignment. He believed he could finish the audit, recover the money, and protect the company before I ever had to know. It was not betrayal, but it was still a decision he had made for me. On the flash drive was a recording. Ethan's voice sounded tired. Celeste's did not. She threatened to release edited messages and claim they had been lovers if he reported the theft. Ethan told her to return the money and resign. Celeste laughed. "When you are gone, no one will know which story was true." Ethan answered quietly. "Claire will have the records." He had transferred the house into the trust. He had preserved the audit. And he had warned the title company that Celeste might attempt a fraudulent deed. Rachel found proof that she already had. Her first filing had been rejected while Ethan was alive because the identity verification failed. The second filing used a different notary session. It was submitted only hours after the hospital formally recorded Ethan's death. Celeste had not come to claim a promise. She had waited until the only man who could deny it was gone. Celeste did not retreat when Rachel challenged the deed. She changed her version of the truth. Her attorney argued that Ethan had created the trust because I controlled him. He said my deployments had reduced our marriage to a legal arrangement. Celeste presented photographs from the coffee shop and printed fragments of their messages. She called the forged deed Ethan's final attempt to give the house to the woman he truly loved. Then she asked the court to freeze the property. She wanted access to Ethan's personal files. She wanted the trust investigated. And she wanted me prohibited from selling, refinancing, or removing anything from the house. Rachel answered with complete records. The full message export showed that Ethan and Celeste had discussed missing money, invoices, and the forensic audit. The living trust had been signed months before his final hospitalization. The attorney who prepared it confirmed that Ethan had made the appointment himself. His doctor stated that he was fully capable of understanding legal and financial decisions on that date. The title company produced Ethan's fraud warning. The hospital produced the medication log and visitor records from the alleged signing day. Celeste had not entered his unit. The hospital network had never connected to the notarization platform. And the address used to complete the identity check belonged to the same shell company receiving the stolen funds. I did not tell the judge Celeste was lying. I asked that every file be examined. That was enough. Then Celeste made a mistake. She testified that she had personally watched Ethan sign the deed through the online video session. She said she had remained beside him while the notary confirmed his identity. Rachel did not interrupt. She waited until Celeste repeated the claim under oath. Then she opened the official notary journal. Every verified participant should have been listed there. Every face should have appeared in the stored video. Rachel looked at me. Celeste had just tied her entire claim to a record that did not contain her name. The judge returned to the official notary journal. Rachel placed the records in chronological order. First came the living trust Ethan had signed 8 months before his surgery. Then came the title company warning, written while he was still alive. After that came Celeste's first deed submission, rejected because the signer's identity could not be verified. Finally, Rachel presented the second deed. It had been submitted only hours after Ethan's death. The judge compared the documents with the remote notarization file. The journal listed one supposed signer. No witness. No attorney. No Celeste Ward. The stored video lasted less than 4 minutes. The person on the screen kept his face partly outside the camera frame. The image was too poor to confirm Ethan's identity, but other details were clear. The man wore a wide silver watch. Ethan had not worn a watch during his hospitalization because of the monitoring equipment around his wrist. The signer also wore a heavy black ring. Ethan's wedding band was gold. It had been returned to me by the hospital. The identity check had been completed using an old scan of Ethan's driver's license. The internet address belonged to the Shell maintenance company connected to Celeste's cousin. Then Rachel presented the hospital records. At the exact time of the online signing, Ethan was under sedation. 2 nurses had documented his condition. The intensive care hallway camera showed no Celeste. The visitor log showed no pass issued in her name. The hospital network had never accessed the notarization platform. The judge looked across the courtroom. Miss Ward, you testified that you personally witnessed Mr. Morgan sign this deed. Celeste sat very still. Yes. You also testified that you were the intended heir and were present during the transaction. Yes. The judge turned the official journal toward her. If you are the heir, why is your name nowhere in this record? Celeste said the notary must have made a mistake. Rachel called the notary. He admitted the session had raised concerns, but the account had passed an automated identity check. He had never seen Celeste, and the signer had claimed to be alone. Rachel then introduced Ethan's warning to the title company. He had specifically named Celeste and the Shell company as possible sources of fraudulent documents. The full message export showed that their meetings concerned missing company funds. The forensic accountant traced the stolen money. The same Shell company receiving that money had supplied the internet connection used to create the deed. The court found the property transfer invalid. The living trust remained controlling. I retained authority over the house. Celeste's inheritance claim was denied. The forged deed, false testimony, suspected embezzlement, and identity fraud were referred for further investigation. Celeste turned toward me. Ethan chose me, she said. You were never there. I looked at the trust, the title warning, and the files he had preserved. No, I said. He chose to protect me from the story you planned to tell after he could no longer answer. Rachel had one final document. It was an email Celeste had sent to a private investor. She promised to sell my house within 30 days and use the money to cover her outstanding debt. The message had been sent before Ethan died. The judge read it twice. Then he asked Celeste why she had negotiated the sale of a house she did not own while its owner was still alive. This time she had no answer. Celeste lost every claim she had made against the house. The forged deed was declared invalid. The trust Ethan had created remained in effect. The court ordered Celeste to pay a significant portion of the legal costs caused by her false filing and unsupported ownership claim. The deed, the notarization records, and her sworn testimony were forwarded for further review. The financial investigation continued separately. The shell company's accounts were frozen. The false repair invoices were preserved. The transfers from Ethan's business were traced to Celeste and her cousin. Once the investor learned that Celeste had no right to sell the house, the promised deal disappeared. Her debt did not. She was forced to sell property that actually belonged to her. Her office closed. Her professional reputation collapsed. And the cousin who had appeared in the signing video began cooperating with investigators. I did not ask the court to punish Celeste more severely than the evidence justified, but I did not withdraw anything. I did not pay her creditors. I did not protect her from the consequences of what she had done. And I did not release Ethan's private messages to humiliate her publicly. The complete records had already proved what mattered. Celeste had never been his mistress, but Ethan had still kept part of his life from me. He had discovered the theft, hired an accountant, and prepared legal protection without telling me. He believed silence would spare me stress during deployment. It did not. It left me standing at my own gate, wondering whether 13 years of marriage had been real. His letter did not erase that mistake. It helped me understand it. I could love him and still admit that he should have trusted me with the truth. For several months, I kept the house exactly as it was. His jacket remained beside the door. His coffee cup stayed in the cabinet. The old phone remained sealed with the evidence. The brass key went into the safe beside the trust and the title company warning. Then I returned to the base. Before leaving each morning, I checked the front gate myself. Not because I was afraid Celeste would return, because I wanted to remember that the decision belonged to me now. One quiet morning, sunlight crossed the living room floor. I opened the curtains. The house no longer felt like proof of Ethan's loyalty or Celeste's lie. It was simply a place I was free to keep, change, or leave when I was ready. Celeste believed a dead man could no longer defend the truth. She forgot that Ethan had left behind something stronger than a promise. He had left a record.